Is your practice tired of wrestling with insurance denials, deciphering EOBs, and watching your revenue slip through the cracks? You are not alone. Welcome to The Claim Game, the podcast designed to cut through the confusion and provide you with the best practices for revenue cycle management success. We are Jeremy and Catherine Zug, and we've been with people just like you in the trenches. Each week, we'll break down complex billing processes, share real-world solutions from practices like yours, and ask questions of the game makers and changers of healthcare so you can take control of your revenue. Let's turn those claim denials into deposits and help you return to focusing on patient care. It's time to win the claim game.
Hey, welcome back to The Claim Game. I'm your host, Jeremy Zug. If you're running a private practice, you've likely realized that there's a strange paradox at the heart of your work. On the one hand, you're a clinician, right? You might be dealing in the intangible, right? Emotions, breakthroughs, human growth, human behavior. And on the other hand, you're a business owner. You deal in the hyper-tangible, overhead, payroll, an increasingly complex world of insurance. The struggle most of you face isn't that you aren't good at the business part. It's that you're trying to apply clinical logic to billing and insurance problems. In a client session or appointment, wait and see, quote unquote, can be a profound tool, but in billing, wait and see is a slow motion train wreck. In this season of The Claim Game, we're using the metaphor of a board game to map out your revenue cycle management, or RCM. We're moving through the 6 domains of billing, one territory at a time. Last time we sat down with Amy Turner at CMS to talk about the Wiser model. We explored a potential nationwide solution for the prior authorization bottleneck. And if you've been around in private practice for any amount of time, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you haven't, welcome, you might at some point. If you haven't heard that episode, I would go back and listen to that one. It provides a lot of rules of engagement for 2026 and beyond for prior authorization. But for today, we're going to zoom in and look at aging follow-up, KPIs. And this is the part of the board where time is either your greatest asset or your most silent thief. We're going to talk about data points, KPIs, and we're going to talk about whether those KPIs are informing whether you're actually winning the claim game or whether you're just moving pieces around the board while your bank account stays empty. If you're new, check out episode 1 for the full overview of the 6 domains of billing. And for everyone else, let's take a look at some data. So to win this game, the game of insurance billing, you need more than just a vague sense that things are going okay. You need a clear, objective map. And in the business world, we call those key performance indicators, or KPIs. I know that for many clinicians, the word data feels cold, but think of it this way. A KPI is simply a diagnostic tool. Just as you wouldn't attempt to treat a complex clinical case without a thorough intake and assessment, you shouldn't attempt to run a practice without a financial assessment. For a lot of providers, the standard medical metrics often miss the mark. You're dealing with the specific challenges of procedure codes, the fluctuating rules of telehealth modifiers, and insurance companies that seem to treat medical necessity as a moving target. To keep your practice sustainable, and more importantly, to keep your focus on your patients, you have to master these 4 pillars, these 4 KPIs, and you have to measure these. The first one, and arguably the most important, is your insurance aging report. This is a narrative. It tells a story of every hour you've worked that hasn't been compensated yet. Most EHR bucket these reports by time. So there's a 0 to 30 days bucket, a 31 to 60 bucket, a 61 to 90, and the dreaded 90 plus, or in some cases, 120 days plus. Here's the goal. In 2026, a healthy behavioral health practice should have less than 15% of its total accounts receivables in that 90 plus day bucket. Why 15%? Because money is a perishable good. In insurance aging reports, it doesn't get more valuable as it sits in the database. After 90 days, the probability of collection doesn't just dip, it collapses. Insurance companies have timely filing limits, which is a fancy way of saying that they have an expiration date on their debt to you. And if you aren't tracking the trend, is that 90-day bucket growing or shrinking, you really aren't running a business. You're effectively providing interest-free loans to billion-dollar corporations that certainly don't need your charity. All right, KPI number 2, patient aging trends. This is often the most uncomfortable KPI for clinicians because it involves the money conversation with clients. The patient aging report tracks what clients owe you in copays, deductibles, and coinsurances. Here's something that would be helpful, right? Use visual trends. If your patient accounts receivable is spiking, it isn't a billing problem, it's a process problem at the front end of your practice. Are you verifying eligibility and benefits before the first session? Do you have a credit card on file? These are questions you'd want to ask if you see patient aging start to spike. Here's a quick analogy for you. If you wait 90 days to tell a client they owe you $500 because their deductible reset, you've created a little bit of a crisis for your client. It would be similar to a restaurant waiting until you've finished your meal, walked you to your car, and started the engine before they tell you the price of the specials. It'd be very jarring, it'd be unprofessional, and it would erode the trust you've worked really hard to build in your practice. And when you outsource your billing to Practice Solutions, we help you automate these front-end realities so the back end stays really clean. The next KPI you'd want to track is the denial rate. This is simply the percentage of claims that were rejected out of your total monthly submissions, right? And you should be looking for a denial rate around or under 5%, ideally 0, but let's face it, we're dealing with insurance companies, so it's never going to be 0. Right now, the industry average for a mental health practice is closer to 15%. Why is that? Well, because insurance companies have leaned heavily into batch denials or prior authorization-based denials. They look for tiny little systemic errors, sometimes errors that they create to deny a whole block of claims at once. And if your denial rate is 20%, you aren't billing insurance. You're essentially a pen pal with a computer that's been programmed to ignore you, right? You're sending very expensive, very formal letters into a void. And if you don't track this, you're effectively working 1 day a week for free, and that's not sustainable. It's a recipe for burnout. This episode is brought to you by Jane, a practice management software and EMR built to support you in the day-to-day work of running your practice. If you're a health or wellness practitioner, you already know the care you provide starts well before your client arrives and extends far beyond the treatment room. Jane is there to support you in every part of that experience. With online booking, your clients can book at a time that works for them. And with features like notifications, they'll even be able to grab last-minute openings when they pop up. It's an easy way to keep your schedule full while getting your clients the care they need. During your appointment, Jane's AI-powered documentation feature can help you thoughtfully take notes so you can stay present with the person in front of you. And after appointments, you can end your time together on a healing note, not a transactional one, by charging the card on file. To learn more about how Jane can support you and your clients, head to jane.app/demo. And one last thing, if you're ready to get started with Jane, you can use my code in the show notes for a 1-month grace period on your new account. All right, number 4, time to denial resolution. This is a measure of velocity. How much time passes between the moment a denial is discovered and the moment it is either resolved, appealed, or closed. In a high-functioning system, like in a practice that's working like a well-oiled machine, resolution on one of those 3 items, resolved, appealed, or closed, happens within 72 hours, right? 3 days, or maybe even a week, 2 weeks, probably at the most. Insurance bureaucracy is built on the hope that you'll get tired and go away. If a denial sits for 30 days, the trail goes cold. The representative you eventually speak to won't have the context of any previous communication, and the clock essentially effectively starts over. So speed is your only real leverage against a system designed to delay payment, right? And we want to make sure that one of the best things you can do, knowing that you can't control the insurance company, is make sure you are controlling what your practice does with your billing. So let's look at how this system plays out in the real world. So I've pulled two case studies from some of our recent client activity at Practice Solutions. The first one is, we'll call this the mirage of the clean aging. We worked with around a 20 provider group. They were high volume, doing more than 150 claims a week. And their internal biller told the owner, don't worry, our aging report is perfect. We have almost zero claims overdue. And the owner felt successful until he realized he was struggling to meet payroll. And so we audited the 6 domains of billing, and we found that the aging report was quote unquote clean because it was being manufactured to look clean, not because of any intentional shenanigans, but simply that it was a process issue. So they weren't collecting any money, they were just hiding what the aging report looked like. And I think this is important. You want your aging report to be clean, but a clean report can be a mask. You have to verify your net collection rate, right? Don't just look at what's gone from the report, look at what's actually arrived in the bank account and verify that against an aging report, right? There are a lot of KPIs, by the way, in billing that we could harp on day in and day out. But I think the important part is to have your finger on the pulse of the financial engine of the practice to make sure it's actually working. And sometimes too clean of an aging report can be a little bit of a flag, right? So that's one. The second is a $1 million mountain. That's what we'll call it. Conversely, we looked at a large multi-state practice with over $1 million in aging claims. It's not that uncommon for high volume, large group practices to have over $1 million in aging claims. But this practice was drowning in paperwork and paralyzed by the scale of what was outstanding. So we didn't just start making random phone calls. We used a reason code analysis. And by tracking the KPIs, we discovered that around 40% of that $1 million backlog was caused by a single credentialing error with one of their major payers. So by fixing the source of the leak rather than just mopping the floor, we were able to clear that backlog in about 6 months. And we gave the leadership team the clarity that comes from knowing exactly where every dollar is. And they stopped managing crisis and started managing their mission, right? And I think this is where a lot of you are, right? You're in a place where it's either mission or margin, budget or staff. And we don't think you should have to choose between those things. We think they can come together, but it requires a tremendous amount of discipline. I want to speak directly to practice owners listening, right? You might be a biller, but if you're a practice owner that's listening to this, I think I know what you might be thinking. You might be saying, Jeremy, I became a clinician to help people, not become a forensic biller. And you're right. There's a deep dignity in the work that all healthcare providers do, but that dignity, that work, the value of what you're doing is undermined when you're forced to spend your best mental energy fighting with a clearinghouse or a payer. It's exactly why Practice Solutions exists. We don't just submit claims. We manage your entire revenue cycle nose to tail. If you are currently at your desk at 9 p.m. searching for terms like mental health billing services or outsourced RCM for private practice or how to fix denied claims, what you're actually searching for is not a billing company. You're searching for freedom. You're looking for the ability to be a clinician again. We provide KPI dashboards, we provide tools and resources, but we're the ones who do the heavy lifting. You want somebody who can handle the claims management, the aggressive denial appeals, and the granular reporting that keeps your practice profitable. We handle the thorns and thistles of the billing world, if you will, so you can focus on the growth happening in your office. Today, we talked about the vital signs of your practice and making sure that your aging report is looking the way it should. And we discussed the tools you need, but I want to discuss a few of them with you. The first is the Aging Follow-Up KPI dashboard that's available through the Hourglass Learning Hub on our website. If you want to stop hoping you'll get paid and start knowing you will, you can click the link in the show notes. Check out the Hourglass and see how we bring clarity to your aging report. The next time on the Claim Game, we're going to be introducing the final territory, which is claim submission. It's the 6th domain of billing, the point of no return, where the game is either won or lost before it really even begins. You won't want to miss it. I'm Jeremy Zug, and this has been The Claim Game. We will see you next time.
If you enjoyed today's episode of The Claim Game, please take a moment to leave us a rating and review wherever you listen to your podcasts. It really helps new listeners to find us. Make sure you never miss an episode by subscribing to The Claim Game on your favorite podcast app. Your feedback means so much to us. We want to provide valuable education about revenue cycle management. So if there's something we didn't cover in our topic that was a burning question for you, please let us know so we can try to get you the information you desire. You can find the links to all resources we mentioned in this episode in the show notes. And if you want to dive deeper into our resources, we have 2 places you can do that. First, you can go to our blog at practicesol.com/blog, where we have 8 years of educational blogs. If you want to learn more about what Practice Solutions does, reach out. We'd love to hear from you. Just go to practicesol.com to learn more and to connect with one of our awesome people on our team. Thanks for listening. We are Jeremy and Catherine Zug, and this is The Claim Game. See you at the game table next time.